welcome back after the break. Now, a clash broke out during a procession in Karnataka's Govt district. Two people were allegedly stabbed during the fight. It is said that two people belonging from one community were fighting when both Tausif and Mushtaq went to stop them. While they were trying to convince them to stop fighting, Tausif and Mushtaq too were allegedly stabbed during the fight. Tausif's health condition is said to be critical. A complaint has been registered. Now we're joined by my colleague Ritu with more details. Ritu, very unfortunate that these two individuals, Tausif and Mushtaq, actually went to break up a fight and were stabbed in the process themselves.
Yes, true. So this incident is from the Govt district of the Karnataka, where during the Muharram procession, the fight takes place between two individuals belonging from one community, and that's when Tausif and Mushtaq goes and stops them, tries convincing them to stop the fight, but then you see the ones who are involved in the fight start stabbing these two as well. Now what we are also learning is that Tausif is said to be critical and he is admitted to the hospital, while both of them are admitted in the hospital, but Tausif's condition is said to be critical. But yes, the SP has also visited the spot and spoke to a few persons of what was this fight all about and how did this even take place over there, why were these two being stabbed when other two people from another community were being fighting. So yes, the SP has visited the spot, has trying to speak to the people, but meanwhile the complaint too has been registered at the police station now, and the investigation is on, and we'll have to see what is the next that the police is going to take step in this incident now.
Really unfortunate that peacemakers in this incident have been stabbed. We'll keep an eye on that. But also, let's take a look at what's breaking in Kerala. A new face-off has erupted between the Kerala governor and the Vijayan government over the passing of several ordinances. After mulling strong action against the Vice-Chancellor of the Kannur University in connection with the appointment of a CPM leader's wife as a professor, the governor refused to sign 11 ordinances, including the controversial Lok Ayukta amendment, calling it against the spirit of democracy, and asked the government to bring legislations in the assembly. The Kerala cabinet will meet today to decide on whether the representatives of the government will meet the governor or whether a special legislative session will be called.
The matter remains before the Chancellor is that whether the decision taken by the Vice Chancellor is in conformity with the Act and Statute of the University. If the Vice Chancellor has selected a person who is not properly qualified, the Vice Chancellor acts against the letter and spirit of the Act and Statute of the University. Then it is the duty of the Chancellor to initiate action against the Vice Chancellor. If the custodian himself has violated, then the Chancellor is absolutely empowered to initiate action against him.
Earlier governor gave his assent to all ordinance. This is only repromulgation of the ordinance. All these ordinances were gave consent by assent by the governor in the earlier position. We are trying to making all these ordinances as a act on the convening the legislative assembly session. The governor has his own responsibility as specifically defined by the constitution. The cabinet has the responsibilities and powers as decided by the constitution of our country. Then we hope the government should function on the basis of the constitution.
Major issue is of the Lok Ayukta, where the Lok Ayukta had the powers to disqualify a person who is found to be corrupt, who is in government and found to be corrupt. So that authority is being taken away from the Lok Ayukta. This is one major ordinance. I think the governor did the right thing, and especially when the ordinance is issued, the House has a session, after that again the ordinance is issued. It means that the government doesn't want to take the legislative route.
Now I'm joined by my colleague Neetu Regukumar with more details. Neetu, The LDF convener, EP Jayarajan, had said that they are wary of confronting the governor over this, that there is no paralysis when it comes to the governance in the state. Why exactly are they wary of this confrontation? Take us through it.
See, there has been issues between the government and the governor in the past also. This particular ordinance in the Lokayukta Amendment Bill, that certain clarifications were sought earlier. It was still the last minute, the ordinance, the assent was not given in that. So now, right now, what is happening is that there are 11 ordinances that are pending that has actually lapsed, and they are pending before the governor. As of Monday, all of them had lapsed, including this controversial Lokayukta Amendment Bill. Now, these were all sent before the governor for the second time, because earlier the governor had given his assent and it was an ordinance. And as the date expired for this, the government had sent it again. But what the governor's stand is that we cannot rule just through ordinances. These needs to be made into law. There was a session in place, and why was this not taken up in the state legislative assembly? And what we also understand is that the governor was not also very happy with the fact that all these 11 ordinances were sent together, and he will, what we understand is that he will look into all these ordinances before giving his assent. So what has happened is that the government is now, even if it's for a short period, now if the governor comes back on 11th, he comes back on 11th night, and on 12th or coming days, if we backdate and sign this will be enforced. But for the government, this looks like, even for a small period, like for 2 or 3 days, it is like these ordinances have lapsed. So that is something which the government is looking at. And today there is a cabinet meeting. What we understand from the law minister, is that today they will be discussing about this, whether the chief minister or the ministers will meet the governor, what is the kind of consensus that will arrive, how will they try to resolve this situation. Will they call in for an assembly session at the earliest and resolve this? Because last year also the minister said that they had called a special assembly session just for legislation, and that was done. So they were thinking on those lines, but then that was during October and November last year. So these are the contentions that the government is going through right now, and what we understand is that after the cabinet meeting, there could be some sort of consensus on how to go about this. But as of what we understand, the government really does not want a kind of confrontation.
Thank you very much for bringing us those details, Neetu. Ruchira Kamboj, Ambassador of India to the UN at UNSC, has raised alarm over the terror attack at the Sikh Gurudwara on June 18th in Kabul, and said that it is indeed puzzling that the Secretary General's report chose not to take notice of the activities of the several proscribed terror groups in this region, especially those that have been repeatedly targeting India.
It is puzzling to us that the SG's report chose not to take notice of the activities of the several proscribed groups in this region, especially those that have been repeatedly targeting India. Selective filtering of inputs from member states is uncalled for. We do hope that in future iterations of SG's reports, inputs from all member states would be treated on an equal footing. There should be no double standards in dealing with terrorists. It is most regrettable that genuine and evidence-based listing proposals pertaining to some of the most notorious terrorists in the world are being placed on hold.
That was Ruchira Kamboj there, historic ambassador to the UN, the first woman to be given that position. And I'm joined by my colleague Abhishek Jha with more details. Abhishek, in fact, she brought up a lot of issues. She also spoke about the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict. She spoke about China opposing that terror proscribed list, and also the growing threat of ISIS in Africa, saying there's a threat of it spilling over to India. So that was indeed a very comprehensive and detailed speech made by Ruchira Kamboj, which also criticized the SG's report.
Of course, and this was a very brazen, avoidance of something that has happened. We know that the community, the Sikh minority community in Afghanistan, has especially been marginalized and persecuted from various terrorist groups and organizations. Earlier, it was the Taliban also who used to be opposing to their existence in Afghanistan. But now there are certain terrorist factions who are trying to threaten them and intimidate them to leave Afghanistan. And those terrorist groups have certainly some inkling or some connection with the Pakistani-based larger terror organization. So while referring to these incidents of attack on Gurdwara in Kabul, Ruchira Kamboj, permanent ambassador in Yun, she called this whole, as these report, a very uncalled for incident where such incidences have not been even mentioned. It was quite a sharp remark from her side. She also outlined how the organized crime have been fueling the terrorist organization or the terrorist activities across the world, and India has been witness and victim to this, and how those organized criminals who later on become involved in terrorist activities found shelter in our neighboring countries. This was a real reference to Dawood Ibrahim and his gang, who after Mumbai blast, they went in hiding in some part of Pakistan, and Pakistan is still harboring them. India has been raising this issue time and again, that Pakistan is protecting some of its most heinous criminals under its security protection. Also, India highlighted how China, who also happens to be current president of United Nations Security Council, has been putting not letting India prohibit certain dreaded criminals or terrorists in the name of technical hold. And we have known how Masood Azhar was not prohibited under the UN sanctions 1267 rule.
All right. Thank you very much, Abhishek, for those details. On that note, let's take a very short commercial break and meet on the other side.
But the car still kept going as he chased the vehicle on foot. The two men were finally arrested after driving another 10 kilometers. 10 grams of heroin was recovered from them.
A pedestrian was mowed down in Kolkata by a teen driver in a Jaguar. The accused, who had got his license just last year, was driving his father's Jaguar at breakneck speed. He rammed into a 40-year-old woman who was walking beside the footpath, killing her instantly. The driver has been arrested. Smart cars are slowly but surely finding their wheels in India, but why are they such a big deal? They have apps which offer detailed maps, notifications. They have the ability to communicate with other cars that are on the road at the same time. It has safety features like geofencing, emergency SOS buttons, a comprehensive infotainment system which connects the cars in the vicinity. It also has voice-based assistance to try and improve the driving experience. Self-proclaimed BJP member Shrikant Tyagi was nabbed after 100 hours after a now viral video of him abusing and assaulting a woman in Noida.
After sending the police on a wild goose chase through Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, Rishikesh and Haridwar for 4 days, Shrikant Tyagi was finally arrested from the Shraddhapuri area of Meerut-Dehradun bypass and dragged in by the cops when the Noida police addressed media. As many as 12 police teams were constituted to nab him.
मेरे एक्यूज बहुत चालाकी से अपने आप को छुपा रहा था। इसको मेरठ के पास से हमारी टीम्स ने अपने सहयोगियों के साथ गिरफ्तार कर लिया।
Tyagi was booked for molestation after abusing a woman at a Noida housing complex in a now viral video.
श्रीकांत कुछ कहना है? जी बताइए। जी।
5 cars were recovered from Tyagi. All vehicles had number plate of special series.
40 days after Eknath Shinde was sworn in as Maharashtra Chief Minister, the cabinet has finally been expanded. 18 ministers took oath today. Among them were BJP State President Chandrakant Patil, Radhakrishnan Vikhe Patil and Uday Samant. Shinde said that a second round of cabinet expansion is likely to be held in September. Kerala Governor Arif Muhammad Khan is planning to initiate action against the Vice-Chancellor of the Kannur University after the wife of the Chief Minister's private secretary was appointed as an associate professor in the university. Arif Muhammad Khan has sought an explanation from the Vice-Chancellor after a complaint stated that the UGC rules were flouted during this appointment. Amid rising threats from China along the line of actual control, India is stepping up vigil. Hindustan Aeronautics is working on an AI-driven multi-role drone. Now, these drones will be able to carry up to 40 kilograms of payload. It's used for transporting essential supplies. The maiden test flight will happen by the middle of next year. HAL will produce 60 such drone platforms in phase 1 of this program. Tensions between China and Taiwan are showing no signs whatsoever of diffusing.
China's Air Force and Navy continue military exercises close to Taiwan. China has sent military ships and planes across the midline that separates the two sides in the Taiwan Strait and launched missiles into water surrounding the island. Multiple types of warship and aircraft participated in the drill, focusing on air control operations, in-flight refueling, air support for naval units and other training subjects. Taiwan's foreign minister said that China aims to control the East and South China Sea via the Taiwan Strait.
China